You're now listening to Emily Shields Talk with Substance on Hotline. Radio Jamaica, active for the good of our nation.
Thank you, listeners. We're back with you on the hotline. DT, I've had a call from Marlon Morgan of the JLP and Colin Campbell as well from the PNP. I've asked Colin to send somebody to talk with me on this matter. So hopefully we'll have them soon. And I do expect to have some people after about 10:30 to go through some of these lofty proposals. Yeah, and if there's anybody out there, somebody's telling me on social media that people are afraid to speak because of what happened with Dennis Chung. Sometimes it's the hazard of life, part of the hazard of life. I don't know how to answer that. Yeah. But all I know is I am not living tomorrow today. I am living today today. Whether you believe it or not, your life, the path that you're on, is set, Yeah, there are different roads depending on the choices that you make. So there are really no come-upons or random incidents. So if you want to sit there and worry, I'm not going to speak because I don't want what happened to Dennis Chung. What's happening to Dennis Chung? He's becoming a question in a political debate. By the way, I don't even know how that particular question come into that debate, but becoming a question, he's becoming the subject of whatever. But who is going to stand up for the country? We're back with you on the hotline. I'm joining now Marlon Morgan of the Jamaica Labour Party. Mr. Morgan, good to have you on the hotline.
Hi, good morning, church sister. Good to be on with you.
Yes.
And I just wanted to know at the very outset that Kevin Downswell, Father Carry Me,
yes,
a big tune that you play.
Yes.
And what I like, Emily, you put on the left tune and play the right one on a morning like this.
Yes. Well, happy anyway, that it has
congratulations, man, by the way, on your well-deserved national award.
Well, God needs to tell me why he's given that to me. Because
God bless, no man curse.
Yes, part of the vitriol that came to me in that message this morning, the person is asking if the reason I said the JLP won the debate the other night is because I'm afraid that the national award will be taken from me. Yeah, that's part of the question that came in that WhatsApp message to my thingy. Yeah, so anyway, let us move on.
It's one thing we have to learn from Mrs. Simpson, Emily. She often made reference to water off a duck's back, and certainly when you're in, visibility, positions of visibility or national life, you have to be prepared to adopt that posture.
That's
I
fine.
have been growing to assume that posture myself.
All right. You called me because you said you have concerns that I said your program is fiscally irresponsible. You're 25 down to 15 in terms of income tax.
Absolutely. And so, Emily, I have been a part of the JLP's achievements and manifesto committee and our efforts in that regard. One of the first things I'd like to draw your listeners to is the fact that we have carefully and conscientiously packaged the suite of proposals. Yes, we have in our manifesto. This was no off-the-cuff, hurry come up, as we have seen with some persons who ostensibly have a manifesto light. No.
Stay with this. We have 10 minutes.
Sure.
We heard for the first time in the debate it will cost about 25 to 30 billion. That seems exceedingly low.
That is not the case, Mr. Shields.
Tell me how we get that. How many people firstly, Mr. Morgan, how many people are there in the income tax over the threshold category at the moment? Do you have those numbers? How many are over the 1.7 million?
There are just about 200,000 Jamaicans. It's in excess of 200,000 Jamaicans who are still on the tax roll, having regard to the existing $1.8 million income tax threshold. So just over 200,000 Jamaicans are on the tax roll and pay income taxes, having regard to being above the 1.8 million, where the threshold is at present. However, as your listeners may appreciate and recall from the budget debate, Emily, we are on course to get ultimately to a new threshold that will commence in April of 2027. So what we're saying is that by virtue of reducing on a phased basis the income tax at present, the base rate from 25 to 15, the estimated fiscal impact is in the order of 25 billion based on the TAJ's calculations and what they have forwarded and provided the finance minister with. Between 25 billion and 30 billion. Any suggestion to the contrary that these are somehow understated or depressed numbers are quite frankly inaccurate. The government would not be irresponsible and seeking to fool its own self in the way others do.
So
because we heard from Keenan Faulkner just before you come
before you come to Mr. Faulkner, I want to understand. So at the moment there are over 200,000 taxpayers who are earning above the 1.7 million. Yeah?
That's right.
When it is moved to, how much is it going to in 2027, you say?
No, what I'm saying, in 2027, it is set to be at 2 million.
Right. When it goes to 2 million, how many people will be above the 2 million threshold? Do you have that number?
No, I don't have that hard number with me, but I wouldn't imagine it to be far off from, the in excess of 200,000.
Right, but this is what we have to get down to brass tacks, because I'd love to see now at 1.7, 200,000 over the threshold. When we get to 1.8, it's going to be 195,000 over the threshold. For those who are over the threshold, these are the people who are over the threshold by 100,000, between $100,000 and let's say 250,000 or whatever. And they being over that threshold, they now pay X amount in income tax. When we take it down to 15%, how much is it that they will be paying? So take me to those numbers.
So, Mr. Shield, which is where I want to effect an intervention.
Yes.
What the JLP has come to the public with is a manifesto commitment. We have signaled to the public that as we set out from as far back as 2016, our strategic outlook is for a strategic shifting from a reliance on direct taxes to indirect taxes.
Yes.
We are giving a commitment, Emily, to essentially reduce the base interest, the base income tax rate from 25 to 15. And what we're saying is that our philosophical outlook for that is to do it in a way that is fair, a way that is phased, and a way that is fiscally prudent. In other words, disciplined, as we have demonstrated over the past two terms. Because just to be clear, Emily, when we took office in March 2016, the income tax threshold was 592,000.
I know that.
And we are the ones who have responsibly and conscientiously effected considerable increases in the income tax threshold.
All right,
we moved initially to 1 million, then we moved thereafter to 1.5, then we moved to 1.7, and based on the 1.7,
I'm aware of the history.
For 2 million.
I'm aware.
Going beyond that.
No, I'm aware of the history. You have to learn when you're speaking to drop the tone so that the other person can come in. I'm fully seized of the historical legacy of where you've come from. I understand that you have a revenue forecast for 140 billion for the next 3 fiscal years with a growth of 1% projected.
Modest, but it could be more than that. That's correct.
Could be more than that.
So it's a conservative
It's
forecast,
a conservative figure. When is it that you intend to make this 25 to 15% reduction in income tax?
Certainly over the medium term. So just to be clear,
give me some years.
Oh, sure. So this will commence in fiscal year 2026-2027. So that's the first thing. And it will be effected over the medium term.
Hold on. When you said will commence fiscal year, this is the 1st of April 2026, which is next year?
In other words, I couldn't steal the finance minister's thunder and run ahead of myself or the administration that I support to indicate that it will commence April 2026 or June 2026 or September 2026. The undertaking, and based on the brief that I have, is that this adjustment, Emily, will commence in the upcoming fiscal year. And the point I'm making is this. Though there is a revenue projection for 140 billion, and there are many persons now running around the place and pointing to that figure, it is to be understood, Mrs. Shields, that there will be expenditure growth where expenses are
Pause on that. Pause on that.
Because the one...
No. Hold on a second, Mr. Morgan. Pause on that, because I appreciate that response. 140 billion over 3 years works to approximately 46.67 billion for each year.
That's right.
If your package, which is slated to start in fiscal year 2026-27, which is right around the corner, if it is to be in a band of 25 to 30 billion conservatively, and which may move because you say, other things move. Let's take away 30 billion from the 46 that is forecast. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
That is leaving 16 billion available for the 26-27 fiscal year, with expenses increasing, as you have said. Where is the wiggle room for the increasing expenses with your revenue forecast for 46 billion for fiscal year 2026?
Right,
where's the wiggle room?
So let me just dial back by saying this. At present, Jamaica's GDP is 3.2 trillion Jamaican dollars, which is approximately US to $20 billion. For Jamaica's GDP, Emily, the government tax take, the tax revenue from GDP, is in the order of 30%. Now, for every percent that GDP here in Jamaica grows by, yes, the tax take from it is in the order of 9 billion. So for every 1% of growth, so in other words, just organic economic growth gives you or yields 9% to the extent that that economic expansion is 1%.
No, I don't get that.
So, well, let me dial back a bit. When you have economic output, right, so 1% GDP growth in Jamaica is nominally $32 billion just about, right? Because our GDP is 3.2 trillion. So 1% of the 3.2 trillion comes down to 32 billion Jamaican dollars.
All right, just hold on for me.
1% GDP growth.
Hold on, I'm up on the headlines. So let us make arrangements to call you back. Thank you so much, Mr. Morgan.
You're now listening to Emily Shields Talk with Substance on Hotline. Radio Jamaica, active for the good of our nation.
Thank you, listeners. We're back with you on the hotline. Let me take a call now. I have a segment I need to take, and then at 10:30 I'm going to have an independent voice on these proposals for tax threshold to be increased and for reduction in the percentage charged on income tax plus more. Let me come to 2178.
Hi, good morning, Ms. Shields.
Morning, John.
I know the time is limited. But, I'm really surprised that they said Mr. Marlon Morgan, he has no clue what he's talking about. He has no clue. And I'm sure it is very hard on your ears to listen to him.
No, it wasn't hard for me to listen to him. We're going through the numbers.
Because, look here, he has no clue. But anyway, let me talk about two things, Ms. Shields, quickly. And the majority of Jamaicans going to the poll is going to vote for decency to return to governance. They are going to vote for they who they ban them better for so long. These people, the middle class and the working class people, will vote for the PNP.
Yes.
Because
Move on to the second point. Move on to the second point.
Huh?
What's the second point?
Which one we don't talk?
Time. Time come.
The second point, Mrs. is that
Yes.
you spoke about desperation between the two parties.
Yes.
I want to tell you what is desperation.
Mm-hmm.
Desperation of the PNP is to rescue Jamaica.
From what?
Desperation of the PNP.
From what?
Huh?
Rescue Jamaica from what?
From this uncaring government.
Uncaring?
The desperation for the JLP is that them are fighting not to go to jail. One by one they will go to jail. One by one.
For what?
They have to give account. The 11 people or the 10 people who have been investigated for illicit enrichment.
Ain't that the problem? Ain't that the problem? Isn't that the problem? You guys keep propagating this 11. That's not the point.
No,
I am answering the question. I am answering the question. The purpose of investigation, it may be that the investigation amounts to naught. How you get them to 1 to be charged, 2 to be guilty, I don't know how. You can trick the ignorant. You cannot trick me with that statement. I have to take a break.
If you cut